Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jenny will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger, helping you whip your business into shape. Today I have with me Dr. Stan, the Breakthrough Man. I'm not sure if that's his official name, but that's what I'm going to call him, because he was introduced to me as Dr. Breakthrough from, of course, networking with the guy who knows a guy. Michael Whitehouse got me in touch with him. And rather than me butcher up Dr. Stan's intro, Dr. Stan, Dr. Breakthrough, what do you want me to call you? Tell us how you got to where you are. How did you become Dr. Breakthrough?
Well, Jenny, first of all, thank you very much for having me. And by the way, my wife, I call her my ABCD. That stands for Adorable Brown Caramel Delight. She's like, I know how to deal with all y'all. Stan, Dr. Breakthrough. She said, I know now. So, but anyway, but let's always address the, like I said, the elephant in the room. Dr. Breakthrough, that name, I want to tell you where I got it from, but also I just always have to give a disclaimer. So as Dr. Breakthrough, I tell people I can't provide the breakthrough. I just prescribe the breakthrough. And when people follow the breakthrough prescription, God Almighty provides it. And a breakthrough is exploding through barriers that at one time seemed insurmountable. Like, for instance, I'm a minister of the gospel. I used to preach against home-based business. Yes. Why? Because my pastor was older and wiser and he was against it. And back then my thinking was, if he against it, I'm against it. I don't know why, but it's, you know what I mean? And then one day I was reading this verse of scripture where it says, great men are not always wise, which means a person can be great in an area, but ignorant in another area, not be wise, right? Because I'm reading through the scripture, Jenny, it's just crazy. I'm like, well, Jesus, like he's sending these disciples out 2 by 2 to reach the whole world. So like, he's like the greatest networker ever. So matter of fact, I have to give a disclaimer, another disclaimer. I always tell people, I am not a network marketer. I never have been, and I never will be. However, I'm a networker that leverages marketing like my master mentor, Jesus. So in the top of, as a matter of fact, I probably am the only guy in the world who's been the top of 3 companies simultaneously. Now, that's number 1 income earner and number 1 recruiter in 3 different companies. Back when everybody was teaching, you can't do but one thing. But see, my problem was I went to school and every period had a different class, and they expected me at the end of the semester to pass all the classes. And then in life messed me up because I was born, so I'm a son, and then I'm a brother, and then I grow up and I get married. And now I'm a husband, then I'm a father. And so I learned to juggle all these different relationships. And so I'm like, well, why is it when it comes to business, like they'll say, oh, if you go after 2 rabbits, you won't catch either one. I'm like, no, that's crazy. I'm going to go shoot one, then go shoot the other. What are you talking about? I'm a thinking man. So, but Jenny, I do understand what they're saying. Like, I didn't start those 3 businesses at the same time, right? So it's like anything in life. You start one thing, you get it going good. It's almost like on autopilot because, like I said, you just master it, right? And then I started the other one and I mastered that. And by the way, I am not even like slide people say, oh man, you're like one of the best salespeople. I was like, no, I'm not a salesperson. I'm just a problem solver and a solution provider, right?
Yes.
I was reading my Bible again, and I found out in the Bible, God says you're blessed if you sell. And I'm like, right? So all this stuff that people put in my mind, and we have, and we, in the very book that I go by, matter of fact, let me give it to you. Proverbs 11:26. It says, he that withholdeth the corn, and this is what messed me up. I'm like, he that withholdeth the corn, the people shall curse him. But blessing shall be upon the head of him that selleth it. Now, corn was the staple of the day. Corn is something that people had to have. So the Bible is literally the book that I thought was against selling is telling me if I have something that people need and want, and I hold it back from them, that's a curse. On the
Mm.
other hand, if I have something that people need, so Solomon, the wisest man in the world, was being used of God to write the words. If I have something of value and you are a person that I value, I have listen carefully, biblical and moral responsibility to sell it to you. Now, if I don't have anything of value, no, I can't sell it. And if I don't value you as a person, can't sell it to you. But if I have something to value, and about 99% of network marketing companies always have some kind of product or service that's of value, right? So if I have something of value and I value you as a person, I now have a biblical and a moral responsibility to sell it, not give it, sell it to you. And then the Bible tells me I'll be blessed if I do that. I was like, whoa. So here it is real quick. I'm gonna be quiet, let you talk. But I used to travel 320 days a year as an evangelist, a minister of the gospel, and I also do martial arts. So I'm breaking boards and bricks and laying on nails, and they're breaking 150 pounds of bricks off my stomach while I'm laying on the nails. And I jump up to preach, and they're like, anything you say, preacher. Yes, sir. But I collapsed out of exhaustion. I was living off 3.5 hours of sleep. I don't even know how I lasted 18 years doing that. But God was gracious. And of course, back then I had this perfect V cut. I worked out all the time. And I kept thinking I was healthy because I looked healthy. But then that's when I found out health is beyond what you look like. It's your internal organs. And besides that, I wasn't sleeping. So one guy explained to me, it's like putting your car into the shop to get it fixed. And the mechanic needs, say, 5 hours, but you pull it out within an hour and a half because you need to hurry up and go somewhere else. He says, so you didn't let the mechanic have time enough to fix it. And that's what you were doing by not getting enough sleep. I kept saying, we can sleep when I go to heaven. Well, I almost went there too soon, right? So guess what? So literally a lady in our church, so if you can imagine 1 week before, I'm putting my hand through 22 inches of cement block on fire. As a matter of fact, should we give them a little demo of that? Let me put my background so they can just see a little bit of what I'm talking about here. So if you can imagine the week before, I'm putting my hand through 22 inches of cement block on fire. And the next week, I can't even go to the bathroom by myself. I collapsed, woke up with a doctor looking at me, didn't know where I was, if I was, who I was. I was 36 years of age at the time. And it was like I had a stroke. But basically what they found out, I'd exhausted my adrenal glands. So the doctor in the church said, look, let me work on this guy. I just know his problem is he just overexhausted himself. He never rests, blah, blah, blah. He's like, type A driven, just keep go, 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 go. Right? And so this lady in our church had this product, and it was a green product, a green grass type thing called barley grass. And so anyway, she bought some and it worked like a charm. It was like, wow. And so I told my wife, I said, tell her I got to have some more of that. And so I said, I don't care what it costs, right? And so I'm buying it from her, and she's like, and I'm like eating it like it's Kool-Aid because it's working. Because, my brain's coming back together. When I tell you I was hallucinating, I had a physical, every kind of breakdown you can imagine. Nervous breakdown, physical breakdown, everything, right? And now my brain is like I never did drugs a day in my life. But I was like hallucinating, and I knew I was hallucinating based on what my brothers told me because they had done drugs, right? And so I was like, I was hallucinating. It was crazy. And all of a sudden now my brain's working and I'm starting to feel stronger again. And I'm not suicidal anymore. And I'm like, wow. And I was like, I got to have some more of this. And Lacey, look, you need to sign up. You could save a whole lot of money. And I was like, is this network marketing? She's like, I was like, nope, I don't do network marketing. And so she's like, but just you'll save money and you can give the money back to the church. If you got a problem with that, you know what I mean? And so finally I said, well, can you put up my wife's name and you promise not to tell anybody? Well, the pastor of the church, who was my brother-in-law, he said, Doc, you were like the strongest guy I ever met in my life. You were like this walking dead man. And now you're like looking 20 years young. Like, what are you doing? So I said, well, I'm taking this green stuff. It's nasty, but it worked great. And so he said, well, how do I get some? So I was like, call the company. I said, matter of fact, they gave me some kind of ID number. They said, they'll give you a discount or something. I don't know. So he called and he ordered something. Well, then he got a wife and 6 kids. He puts his whole family on it. The church says, Pastor, what are you doing? Well, Doc gave me this stuff. He said, just call this number, give him this. He gave him my ID number. And in a month, they sent me a check. And I called the company. It's like, no, I don't do network marketing. They said, no, we also pay you for volume. And you had enough people called in with your ID number. And I was like, wait a minute. You mean I took a product that changed my life And then my friends, they saw the change in me and they asked me and they got changed. And you paying me for this? I was like, what I got to do to get another check? And like I said, I was ruined from then on. So now, my friend, altogether, matter of fact, my greatest success, like I told you, 3 companies at the same time. I was one company, they hired me to be their international training director. But Jenny, I love what they were doing so much. I said to the CEO, Peter Wolfing, I said, Peter, do you mind if I build also? Peter's like, well, of course I don't mind, right? So I personally ended up sponsoring 988 people. And those 988 people within 6.5 years blossomed to 1.5 million people on my team. I mean, I had days I was making 22 grand. I never forget, I pulled in to preach at this church, right? And I said, Patrick, look at my back office. And I said, now tomorrow, 24 hours later, I want you to tell me how much money I made in a 24-hour period. So the next day he looks in there and he says, no way. I was like, no, come on, say it out loud. $22,000 I'd made in that one 24-hour period. Make a long story short, I said, look, I don't need an offering. I'm going to leave the church with an offering. And by the way, I signed up the pastor and everybody in the church.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right. So anyways, so that's part of my story. So that should give you enough. You probably got questions for me. But anyway, so now I love what I do. I do what I love. And now I just train different people. You know, here's what I do. I ignite and reignite a passion of people for life, for love, for the Lord, and for business. And so, yes, this industry, I love what it stands for. I love the fact of here's what I say, it takes the average person and empowers them to create above average income in below average time. Because part of my problem too was what I was doing. I'll never forget the first guy I ever led to Christ, and his name is Myron Golden. Now he's a huge trainer and speaker, but he said,
that's the second time today I've heard his name, or in the last 24 hours.
Wow. Yeah. So matter of fact, I was also a martial arts instructor, taught him and then he came to Bible college and I was his Bible college professor. But anyway, and he quit Bible college and we forgave him because he made millions and was able to help a lot of people. But he was one of the ones that God helped also to open my eyes to some things, but in this industry. But again, he said to me, he said, Doc, nobody can do what you do, man. Like at that time, I was mentoring him, so he was trying to mimic a lot of stuff that I do. So, and he's like, man, you're like a machine, like you're just. And he said, so people can't all the way identify with you. And he said, you need also a system that you can help people show them how to be successful. And so he kind of said, and a home-based business arena will help you to do that. So that was another plug for it. You know what I mean? And so I didn't really get started. Like a lot of people got started for money. The money wasn't an issue with me. But what was, I needed a vehicle. I needed a system that I could help average everyday people to succeed. Right. And that's what this industry did for me. And then one more story. This is my last one until you ask me a question. I was a Bible college professor. So I went to regular school 12 years, then graduate work, postgrad. So 24 years of schooling altogether.
Wow.
And someone had asked me one time, how'd you like to start making more money in a month than you make an entire year? And I'm like, I'm not going back to college. I had enough. And I'm a professor now. I'm not. And they said, no, we'll mentor you. Right. Well, again, it was in the home-based business arena. And so they started mentoring me. And so anyway, make a long story short, it didn't happen exactly like this. I'm embellishing it a little bit, but I started making, this part's true. I started making more money in a month. I used to make an entire year as a college professor, but I walked into my boss. Here's the part I'm kind of embellishing. And I said, boss, I'm sorry, I can't work for you anymore. And he said, why? I said, I got eye trouble. He said, eye trouble? Doc, what's wrong with your eyes? I said, I can't see myself working for you anymore. That was in 1990, and I've been psychologically unemployable because I used to travel and speak with Jim Rohn, by the way. And Jim's the one that said profits are better than wages. And so now I've been paid as much as $1,000 a minute to speak, right? So you couldn't give me a job because now I understand. So, but network marketing, though, helped me to hone my speaking skills, right? And of course I was preaching, but they helped me to hone my speaking skills where I could speak without quoting a bunch of verses at people, right? And everything. And then, anyway, it opened up the door. And so then schools started having me come speak to the schools. And then guys would hire me to come speak to their businesses. And now, like I said, we've been blessed to speak in all 50 states and 28 countries. And I even got voted into the motivational and the Black Belt Hall of Fame. So I love what I do. And I love what you do because you're exposing the light. You're opening up so that some people can get hope, right? Yeah. And so I've been able to help so many people that couldn't make it the regular way. Go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a job, live happily. That doesn't even work anymore, right? And people are still on that same old path. So the thing that you do, exposing and shining light on some folks who had some success in this industry, that help other people to say, if this guy was preaching against it, now he's doing it.
Right. I was going to say, because I find it really interesting, because one thing that Michael did not share with you when he made our introduction was that right now I'm doing a series called the 6-Figure Success Series, where I'm only talking to, for that series, people who've done 6, 7, 8 figures or more directly from their direct sales, network marketing, or MLM business, right? Their home-based business. And what I find interesting is the pattern of the people who have made that kind of living, who started as complete skeptics of the industry. Exactly. They were like, no, I'm never going to do that. Or I was asked to join 15 different companies before I finally signed on to this one because it was the right product. It was the right whatever, da, da, da. And I find it really interesting that thou dost protest too much. And yet it's almost like the psychological piece comes like, well, I fought it so hard for so long, I better kill it.
Well, I think, like, for instance, for me, like, I never even had, like most people go through the struggle. I just went straight to the top for a couple of reasons. One, kind of like what you're saying, I was so against it that when I finally got in it, everybody knew that I was a good guy and, I mean, not perfect, but I mean, a good guy and loved people and cared about people. And so they said, if he's doing this and he used to preach against it, it has to be good. Right. And so that helped in my favor. But the other thing that I didn't know back then, they would teach, don't talk to preachers, they're too busy. Well, my only friends, I was an evangelist, which means now I didn't pastor a church. I would go from church to church to church. But my friends were all pastors and bishops and deacons. That's the only friends I had. So that's the only people and I didn't know what was happening, but here's what happened. And I talk about in my book, here, how to build a big team fast. And I talk about going after leader of leaders. And so I didn't realize it. I was only talking to on like a, influence scale. Charlie Brown 0, E.F. Hutton is 10. I was talking to 9s and 10s. That was one of my friends, right? And so what happened was when they came, the leader, they automatically had followers that would come. So like I said, there was times I would sign up whole churches, like they'd have, especially if you can preach and you're worth your salt. And then I'm breaking all this stuff. They're like, dude, where you got all the energy for? Well, you're probably not going to do everything I do, but taking this will help, right? And they're like, okay, let me get some of that, right? And if you need to make some extra money, and especially like I said, when you come into the church and preach to say, hey, I don't even need an offering. And they're like, wait a minute, no, that don't sound right. I'm like, no, I'm fine. And if you give me, let's find somebody else that we can help with that, right? But what I'm saying is this, so I didn't go through that second guessing myself and the doubt because, like you said, I already took care of that. So up front, I was skeptical, I was against it, and blah blah blah. So once I finally made that decision, then it was a done deal. And let me give this something for your listeners. And here's what I teach people: don't pluck up in bad doubt what you planted in good faith. Oh, come on now. Let me say it again.
Oh, say it again. Say it again. Slow it down. Okay, slow it down.
My wife, I call her my ABCD, by the way, adorable brown caramel delight. She's like, baby, just breathe. Just breathe. I'm like the kite all over the place and she's the string. Like, come on, big boy, come on down. All right. So here's what I tell people. Stop plucking up in bad doubt what you planted in good faith. So most people get started in this industry out of good faith. And then what happens is, and can I give your listeners $1 million piece of advice? And I'm not exaggerating. $1 million piece of advice. You ready?
Please.
Stop getting quote unquote constructive criticism from those who have never built what you intend to build. Ooh, let me say it again. Stop seeking constructive criticism from those who have never built what you're seeking to build. In other words, here's what happens. Somebody gets involved in this industry and their brother is a brilliant attorney. And they're like, hey, what do you think about that? Oh, I wouldn't do anything like that, blah, blah, blah. That's a scam. That's a pyramid scheme. That's a get rich quick scheme, which, by the way, the word scheme comes from the word schematics, which means plan. And you better get rich quick plan because you're getting rich too slow. And then some, or they have a sister who's a brilliant doctor, and they're like, no. When it comes to the law, ask your brilliant brother who's an attorney. Or when it comes to your your health, and you got a brilliant doctor, ask them that. But when it comes to home-based business, don't ask them that. Like, for instance, Les Brown and I, we travel and speak. We share the platform quite a bit. And we were in London, 20 years ago. I'll never forget this. And he was speaking, and usually I speak first and he speaks, but this time they had him speaking first and then me following. And he said something that I always had respect for Les. I mean, he's great, but my respect went 10 times higher. Here's why. He said, if you want to know how to speak, I'm the guy. Talk to me. But if you want to know about marriage, don't ask me, because I've been married and divorced 5 times, and I'll probably mess yours up. So don't ask me. And I was like, whoa. See, again, great men are not always wise. So some people think because somebody's great in this area, right? And so because people get involved and they care about their family members, or they care about their close friend who's excellent in some other area, they say, hey, what do you think about this? Don't ask somebody like me who's been the top of 7 different companies altogether. And like I said, as far as I know, I'm the only one who's been a number 1 income earner, number 1 recruiter in 3 companies simultaneously. And one of those, I had a team of 1.5 million. So I might know a little bit of what I'm talking about, baby. But ask me but don't ask you know what I mean? And then I'm a 10th degree black belt in this new karate, martial arts, right? So if you got a question about martial arts, I'm a guy to ask, right? But if I was just a 10th degree black belt, don't ask me about your network marketing company if I don't have any experience in it, right? Yeah. And what happens, we keep running to people that we respect and we admire, but they don't have the expertise in the area that we're asking about. So let me be quiet. I know you got a question.
Well, what comes to mind, because I already talked to you pre-interview about, if you know Scott Conway, right? So this martial arts, I love this analogy, because basically what you're doing is saying, all right, so I want to go learn this karate thing, do this karate martial arts thing. And you're asking someone who's never even stepped foot in a dojo.
Hello.
Like, why would you? They're not even a white belt. Right. They're not even a white belt because they haven't even put it on, right? Then the analogy I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it because
I love the fact that you love it. Come on now.
Oh my gosh. And one of the recommendations I make for people when they're asking, how do I handle the skeptic, right? How do I handle the person in my life who's a skeptic? I tell them to read. Do you know Janine Finney? Have you met her yet?
I have not. Okay. These great people I don't know. Okay. Hey, by the way, people tell me all the time I'm the best kept secret. Now I'm changing from being the best kept secret to being the best secret people can't keep.
Right. Exactly. So, but Janine Finney wrote a book called The Flip Flop CEO. Wow. Because she, like you, started as a skeptic. Her daughter got into a network marketing company, a home-based business, and she gave her daughter trouble for the longest time. And finally, her daughter said, Mom, put up or shut up, be in the business or stop talking about it. And so she did it. She's like, fine, I'll prove to you that this is a scam. And lo and behold, became a 6-figure earner with her daughter.
Wow.
And ended up writing a book called The Flip Flop CEO. And the book is geared to skeptics. It turns out to actually be a really great training book for people who are in the industry who want to learn more about the background of the industry and how it works. But it's also a great book to present to people who are skeptical. And they don't even have to read the whole book, just the first 3 chapters. Wow. It's fantastic. And if you want to meet Janine, I'll connect you. Happy to do so, because you two should know each other. Right. But I love this. And so what I'm going to do for the Badass Crew, so these are the people, my listeners, my followers here for the group.
Yeah, y'all bad behind people. That's why I came over here to help y'all. Somebody gonna say he's a preacher. What is he doing over here? I'm like, well, Jesus hung out with the publicans and sinners, right? So I was like,
that's what I'm saying.
But hey, everybody's got their own little thing, right? And I'm not perfect. God's still working on me, right? So some of your people would have probably never heard of me unless I came over here, right? And so anyway,
right, exactly. And so what I'm going to make sure to do is put the link for the book that you've talked about a couple of times. It's called How to Build a Big Team Fast. And we're going to put the link in the show notes because I want you guys to have this, because I know that is one of the questions. And that is something I'm sure you and I could do, like a webinar on, to teach people what's in the book. Because there's some people who they'll read it and won't retain it all. They need to hear it. They need to see it. They need to interact with the information, right? But for those who want to read it, is there an audible version? Have you created an?
Well, there is. There's an audible version in my voice. And by the way, the very best thing is I do have a website called, several websites, but drbreakthrough.com, right? Just break, like BREAK, through. And they'll find a copy of the book, How to Build a Big Team Fast. Of course, one of my favorites, if you're single or you're just barely married, is Computer Love, How to Avoid the Pitfalls and Find the Love of Your Life Online. That's the story of me and my ABCD, my adorable brown caramel delight. But then just personal development altogether is just your breakthrough is guaranteed. Les Brown looked forward for this, and 7 simple steps to your success. As a matter of fact, if you order on drbreakthrough.com, you want to do that instead of Amazon, because I personally autograph the book to people, right? And then usually I send them, I've got something that's called 13 minutes to your breakthrough, or what I call my daily attitude adjuster. And that's an MP3 format. I usually send that to those who order the book. So it makes it, again, some people want the audible, so they'll have to go, but I'm saying that, and then what happens is people that get the audio book end up ordering the physical book because they said, oh my goodness, I got to mark this stuff up. I got to, you know what I mean? And they do it that way.
Yep.
We just give you just a little bit of the back of this, because this, you're gonna love this. Do I have a quick minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
From getting tarred and feathered as a 6-year-old boy to becoming a 10th degree black belt champion, business leader, author, and speaker, Dr. Stan Harris has had to break through unbelievable barriers. So allow him to empower you to experience a massive breakthrough. You may never be the same again after you read this book. Now, here's what I want y'all to listen to. You were genetically encoded to experience breakthroughs. It's part of your very DNA. Matter of fact, your first breakthrough was when you beat over 40 million sperm cells to the womb. You broke through the walls. Yes, you may not be aware of it until now, but you, my friend, are a breakthrough master. You came in first place, by the way. You're a breakthrough champion material. Your second breakthrough was actual birth, when the water broke and you came through the birth canal. Again, you may not have been aware of it, but you, my friend, are a breakthrough master. So the challenge has been issued. Do what you were designed to do. That is to break through any barrier that tries to hinder you from your success. This is your birthright. This is your destiny. And this book will give you the simple step-by-step formula that you've been looking for. So now is the time to break free from procrastination, fear, doubt, making excuses, and so forth. You will no longer be stuck, but rather free to succeed. Now listen carefully. Here it is. You are unstoppable. You can only be deceived into thinking you can be stopped. Oh, come on.
I have goosebumps. Goosebumps.
No, those are God bumps.
Yes. Like, serious. That is so good. I absolutely love this. Dr.
By the way,
Stan,
Jenny, you're good too. You know why? Because if you can spot it, you got it. Oh,
I love you. Oh my gosh. Let's see, look at that. Even my iPad sending you love. So Dr. Stan, this has been amazing. And you know what? I'm going to put this as the first episode of the 6-Figure Success Series in 2024.
Well, wait a minute. But if you're going to do that, I got to do something special then. If they order the book on drbreakthrough.com, How to Build a Big Team Fast, if they put your name in the comment section, then I'm going to tell the office to add the second book absolutely free. So if they want to get one, they'll get the second one absolutely free, autographed to them, but they must put in the comment section that they heard me on Jenny's show and the Bad Behind show. The Bad Donkey Show.
Yes. Make sure you. So thank you. That is incredibly generous. I so appreciate you doing that for my badass crew, my bad donkey crew.
And I'm gonna do one more thing. I got it's called the Internet Mentor, theinternet.mentor.com. If they go to the internetmentor.com, I got some paid trainings there, which by the way, I got a whole training on How to Build a Big Team Fast. I've had
good.
Yeah, but there's some free trainings on there. There's one that's called From a Mess to a Master. And that's my main message in life, is that every master, oh my goodness, you got to hear this. Every master was once a mess. Therefore, every mess can one day be a master. And when a mess becomes a master, you now have a message that if you market properly to the masses, you make millions. And that's my story. I was the mess of all messes, right? Jumped as a 6-year-old boy. Dad left when I was 3, never called. Tarred and feathered by a teenage gang, left in the field to die. Physical abuse and sexual abuse and verbal abuse and financial abuse and racial, every kind of abuse you can think of. I tried to commit suicide on 2 occasions before I was the tender age of 12. And now I'm living, I just turned 63 the other day. My oldest daughter just turned 39. By the way, Dr. Christina, she got her PhD. She's a professor, which is funny. We got a picture of her when she was 5, is in my class when I was a professor. And then 25 years later, me visiting her class, right?
Aww.
But anyway, on there though, there on the Internet Mentor, THT, the Internet Mentor, there's some free trainings, and get that one that says From Mess to a Master. And then there's one on the art of selling without selling, or how to sell without being a sellout. Come on now. So that's selling
good.
Isn't this thing, it's attitude. See, I used to sell myself on what I couldn't do. And now I learned to sell myself on what I can do, right? And again, that's another reason I love what you're doing, because see, sometimes people got to hear something 7 times, 7 different ways from 7 different people before it sticks, right?
Yep.
So, and sometimes I get to be that 7th voice. Sometimes you're that 7th voice. So Coach Jenny, thank you. Hopefully you're going to reach a young Dr. Breakthrough. Okay.
That's the last story.
Okay. This is the last story. I was speaking 20 years ago, Howard University with Willie Jolly. He said, no, Dr. Stan, he said, branding's everything. He said, man, I know you got a doctorate in divinity, PhD in martial arts, and something about a few credits away from doctor of naturopath. He said, but man, branding is everything. He said, the way you speak to people and you break down things. He said, the way you teach about breakthrough. He said, and by the way, when you write on boards, bricks and things like fear and you break those things, symbolizing we can break through. He said, when somebody needs a breakthrough, just like when they go to a doctor, he writes out a prescription. You're the guy that has the prescription for a breakthrough. I said, man, I don't know if that's true, but I promise you one thing, I'll live the rest of my life to make sure it is. And guess what? And Jenny, he didn't know it, but when he said that to me, I was phoneless, homeless, and carless. That's right. I'd lost everything, and somebody let me use, I said, I got this speaking engagement. Somebody let me use their car to get to that speaking engagement. And when he said that to me, and I'm trying to think, God, that doesn't make sense. Why would he be, I'm Dr. Broken Down right now. Why would he say that? And folks, you got to stop resisting when people are giving you gifts. He was giving me a gift. He didn't know my situation. That was from God himself. And so I said, okay, if I'm Dr. Breakthrough, I got to change stuff quick. And I would walk around saying, I'm a rich man that happens to be low on cash, but God and I are changing that fast. And I called a guy, somebody let me use their little, they had a little, what's it called, a trailer, and let me stay in that. And they had a little phone, and I called this guy, and he said, Doc, I've been trying to find you. I said, well, I had some issues. I didn't tell him my problems, though, right? Because nobody really cares except you and the people you owe, right? And so he said, but I got this company wants you to speak. I said, I'll take it. He said, but I didn't even tell you. I said, I'll take it. He said, well, I said, tell them they can fly me out right now, as soon as possible. And they were sending me on a speaking tour, paying me $5,000 a speech. But what happens, he put a spot in for me, and he said, when you speak, if you want to invite somebody, I'll sign up. I'll put them in the deal for you. Well, literally, he did that. My check started getting as big as my speaking check. And literally, I said, hey, Dave, tell me how to do the comp plan. I think I need to focus on this. And from that time, I went from 0 to 22,869 people. And as a matter of fact, that's when I wrote this book. I just done that, and I was building the other team of 1.5 million. But I went from, get this now, I went from being homeless, and carless to 5.5 months later making $100,000 per month.
Woo.
And by the way, I got a car, got a house, got a phone, got it all. So for somebody that's down and out, my name's not Dr. Breakthrough for anything. I had to break through some stuff, and I think I can help you. So go to drbreakthrough.com and then go to the internetmentor.com and then call me. Call me at 717-275 3508 and listen to that message. 717-275-3508. I'm not going to answer. You just listen to that message. It'll change your life for the rest of your life.
I love it. Boom. Breakthrough right there. Thank you, Dr. Stan. I so appreciate you. This has been brilliant. I'm going to go back and re-listen to this like probably 15 times because there's I'm a big believer. There's a reason why we meet people. The message that we hear is what we need to hear in the moment we need to hear it. And so, like Dr. Stan said, if this is the 7th time you've heard it and you're like, okay, this is it. This is my time for a breakthrough. This is it. Go check out Dr. Stan. Go check out drbreakthrough.com and get that book. Make sure you let them know you heard them on Badass Direct Sales Mastery with Coach Jenny B. So that way he'll throw in that extra book at no additional charge. Thank you. That is super generous. We really appreciate you. And Badass Crew, you know how this goes. Stay tuned because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.